The IRS knew its computer systems were vulnerable to hackers, but failed to implement dozens of security upgrades to combat cyber attacks. That is just one of the takeaways from a pair of congressional hearings today that focused on the tax agency's inability to protect itself and you. Here's correspondent Shannon Green.
It's clear to me that if you have IT from the dark ages, you're not going to be able to stay on top of these kinds of problems.
Yet that's exactly what IRS Commissioner John Koskinen says his agency is facing: outdated infrastructure, making it vulnerable to breaches like the one impacting more than 100,000 American taxpayers whose personal information was illegally accessed earlier this year. Koskinen says the information was used to file fraudulent refunds to the tune of $39 million.
In many ways, this event is a shot across the bow to remind people the nature of the battle we're fighting and the sophistication of the enemy.
During two Senate hearings today, lawmakers and IRS officials speculated about the source of the recent breach, most blaming international organized crime syndicates. Koskinen says the intruders were armed with personal taxpayer information they had already compiled. Some may have been stolen, but other data could have been gathered from the taxpayers themselves via postings on social media sites like Facebook. IRS Inspector General Russell George testified that the agency has been repeatedly warned for years about vulnerabilities and in many cases refused to act on his recommendations.
Managers need to periodically review and validate access to systems, limiting it to people who only have a need to that information.
Mr. George, those do not sound like resource issues. That sounds like a management issue.
Yeah, I agree, sir. I agree there.
Victim Mike Casper testified today about realizing his information had been stolen and his failed efforts to get help directly from the IRS.
They said privacy rules. At every step of the case, when I tried to get more information, they would say privacy rules prevent them from doing that.
One industry expert said the crime will extend far beyond the initial breach.
So they stole the money, but they now have more data that they will sell to others to use. There are very active black markets in trading this information.
Though Koskinen repeatedly talked about the need for increased funding, and he said the agency can't keep up with cyber criminals, much less get a step ahead of them, he also admitted this latest breach was not caused by a lack of sufficient funding. Brett?